All righty, everybody, here we go. We are right at 10 o'clock. It's going to be an interesting one today. Let's move our slides right on along. There we go. What a gorgeous graphic there. And good morning and happy Thursday. I hope all is well with you and yours where you are today. My name is Brian, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the next session in the FDOT CAD Office webinar series. Today is Thursday, February 13th. Everyone, I don't think I need to tell you that we are one day away from Valentine's Day. So if it is of your persuasion, I hope you are fully prepared. At the very least, I'm looking forward to this weekend when I can go out and get a ton of chocolate and candy on sale prices. But as I said, today is Thursday, and today is all about this webinar. Today's session will be surrounding the FDOT Connect 2023 custom drainage resources. This session is pre-recorded, and our instructor will be none other than Mr. James Worley, CAD application training specialist with the state CAD office. All attendees will be in listen-only mode for this webinar. Please submit any questions you have to the question dialog box. James is unfortunately not with us today, but if you have questions, please put them into the question dialog box. I will try to answer any kind of procedural ones, or if it's a content specific, I will make sure that we get these to James and we get those answered after the fact, and we will post them to the website where we post the videos as well. It is our intention to record this presentation and post it to the CAD office website, and it's the same resource in which you accessed the registration link for this webinar. So everybody knows where that is. This morning we had roughly about 155 people scheduled to sign in with us today. I can see the numbers kind of trickling up. But a few of you, if you experience any kind of loss of audio and you are new to this, please just know the easiest way is to disconnect and reconnect to your link, and that fixes it 99.99% of the time. This session will not qualify for a full continuing education credit, as it is just over 30 minutes, but maybe we'll look into giving a half a credit out. But if we do issue those CEs, it'll be issued to the PEs who attend the live session and who attend the session in its entirety. Certificates will be delivered to the email address in which you registered and logged into this webinar with. And with this, I'm going to turn it right on over to Mr. James.
Good morning. My name is James Worley, and I work for the Florida Department of Transportation in the Production Support CAD office. I'll be presenting to you today custom drainage resources, new resources, and tools. This will include some of the brand new tools that are in the drainage workspace that have never been there before, as well as some that are still in what we like to call beta. It will also feature some of the new resources that are out there for the drainage software that have both improved the performance and the reliability of our software. Thank you. And now we'll get started. All right, let's start out by looking at the cell library resources that we've been able to optimize. And I'll give you a little idea of how that happened, and you'll be able to see how much we were able to shave off the size of these things. First, let's just look at the sheer size of what we used to have. What we used to use was Drain 3D, which held both the proposed and existing cells for our 3D drainage structures. We then had DR Plan, which held the proposed 2D structure cells. DR Plan EX, that held the existing versions of those cells, a utilities cell library that had 2D utility cells, and a 3D utility cell library that held, of course, the 3D utilities. Along with these, we had pseudo labels, which held the labels that were used for our text favorites and labeling. Altogether, those totaled 163 megabytes of our installation. Every time you accessed a drop-down that had to look at element templates or cell libraries or cells themselves, the program had to go in and load all of these resources. And they were all loaded. So that took up a bit of memory, and it took a bit of time every time you did a drop-down for the first time. Any dialog that used cells or element templates or feature symbologies had to go through and access this information. What we were able to do is combine all of those 163 megabytes into one cell library that's only 85 megabytes. Now, when we're talking about the Train 3D cell library, I don't know how many of you have ever been in that when you were in 10.10 and 10.11, but 10.12 and forward, we are going to be using the drainage and utilities.cell. So let's just look real quick what's inside the Drain 3D. If you come in here and look at the models, this gives you a list of all the cells in this file. I'm sure anybody that in 10.10 or 10.11 that had to make a custom drainage structure knows this fairly well and has seen all the multitude of cells that are in here. But I'm going to select them all, and we're going to get a count of them over here in just a second. In this cell library, we have 1,090 cells total. That's a lot. And every time that there was a change in the way that we utilized the cells, or that the software interacted with the cells, and there were a couple that were major, we had to go through one cell at a time and make edits, because they have things in them that are on specific levels and specific line styles that have to be maintained in a special way, and they have to be kept in certain positions. So every single one of them, like the best one that I can think of, and believe me, I know it well, is when we had to rotate the alignment line in every cell 90 degrees to make it so that the software could read the cross slope properly and the longitudinal slope properly. Because the way that we had originally put the line in there, the software started somewhere around 10.11, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. It might have been the last versions of 10.10, but it kind of started using that as the way to tell what your cross slope as compared to your longitudinal slope was for a specific structure top. That 90-degree rotation is what caused any of you out there that happened to be using the software when that happened to have to go into your files and rotate everything back 90 to where it originally was when the update hit. And I am so very sorry that that had to happen. But 1,000 cells to have to go through one at a time every time there's a change or a update or any other type of change. That's a fair amount of work, and it's excruciatingly tedious. So we went from that, give me a second here, to this cell library. This is the drainage and utilities cell library. Now, if I bring this up, it kind of looks the same, but not quite. And it's got all those other cell libraries in here, along with all of our structures. You'll notice, though, that there's 2D cells and 3D cells in here of each of the structures, but there's no existing or proposed. That's because if you look at these, okay, and this one, if you look at these, yeah, the existing closed flume, and then you had a closed flume. Every cell had a specifically proposed symbology cell and an existing symbology cell. And if you go up here real quick and look, oh, that won't be available. Okay. I was going to show you that even though we changed the way we did the element templates, I'll show you that in the new one. The way we actually cut them in half was that we used the element template to assign the proposed or existing to each and every cell. So if I go here to the 3D top, there's that. And you see that there's an active cell, and it has drain struct PX for proposed. Now if we come down to existing, 3D top, existing curb, and look at the exact same one, but in the existing role, you see that it has the same, did I get the right one? Yes, I got the right one. Yeah, there's no difference in the cell that's used for these two. The difference is right here, the level that's used. There's an EX, there's a PX. And in that way, we were able to cut the number of cells, both 2D and 3D, in half. So that makes it a lot easier for maintenance should anything occur that needs massive changes or mass numbers of changes. So let's see. With all those other cell libraries in here with them, and it'll pop up over here in just a second. All of them together only have 1,566. Now, if you went back and took on the DR plan, the DR plan underbar EX, the utilities 3D, that 1090 that you saw would turn into just over, I think it was 2,800 and some odd with all of them together. So 1,500 cells sounds like a lot, but when you're only dealing with one cell library and you're dealing with half as many cells as you had before, it makes the maintenance much easier. And the user doesn't get penalized at all. In fact, it helps your load times on all of your dialog boxes and drop downs that have anything to do with cell libraries. So this is one of the good things that we were able to do to make things a little bit better and a little bit easier for our users. Now let's take a look at some of the other things that have been added in FDOT 1012 and newer. One of the things that always got me, and quite a few people asked me why it had to be done that way, was the fact that if you were in a drainage file and you needed to make another drainage file, you had to go from our drainage and utilities workflow back to the open roads modeling workflow so that you could access the FDOT tab to then get to the create file application. Well, that is no longer an issue because now drainage and utilities has its own FDOT tab. On this version of the FDOT tab, we have some of the things that you're familiar with on the prior FDOT tab, such as create file. Yeah, you can create a file without having to leave the drainage and utilities workflow. That's a thing. So, another thing that has been added and is now available from within the drainage and utilities workflow is something to help us out on our storm data. Storm data now is utilizing the NOAA Atlas 14 instead of the old IDF tables that everyone was used to. But you'll notice that, of course, the user-defined means exactly that. There's no information pre-filled in the NOAA Atlas 14 table. So, what you have to do is you have to go to a website to get your site-specific information so that you can fill out this table. Now we have a link. If we go to our FDOT tab and go to the web links, you'll find a NOAA link that takes you directly to the current NOAA Atlas 14 page. Always be sure to change to your intensity instead of depth. And then just take your crosshairs, put it on your project location, and you can zoom in closer if you need to, or if you already have a lat long, go ahead and put that in. And you can even search it by address. Once you have all that figured out, just come down to the bottom, frequency estimates, submit. It'll give you a CSV file that you'll be able to use to then fill out all that information on your storm data, making this a little bit easier to accomplish and not so hard to find the website. Now it's just a click away. Going back to our FDOT tab, another thing you will notice is that we have a new tool called a 3D Drainage Cell Builder. Now this application is something we're trying out to see if helping people do their 2D and 3D top cells for, say, a pond control structure is something that people are interested in. What this particular application will do is you figure out what base structure you're using. In this case, we currently have C, D, and E ditch bottom inlets available to use as base structures. When you change the type, you'll notice the grate changes along with it. Let's go back to C. The base cell name, as is good policy, starts out with the original cell name and then adds a modifier to the end of it. Then you would give it a description. And then you would tell it what depth you wanted your structure in inches. Let's say 72. It tells you what structure width, structure length, and the wall thickness is going to be for the structure cell that it is creating. It also gives you grate opening width, grate opening length, and grate opening depth for your grate to be placed. And then it has this area down here where you can add weirs, orifice, and skimmer. You can add as many weirs as you need to make a stepped setup. So let's say our first weir depth is 12 inches. Our second, or our weir width, is 24 inches. Our next depth is 24 inches, 18, and so on. You can put as many as you want on any side or all sides of a structure. Remember, all of this is in inches. During quite a few demonstrations of this, I have myself forgotten that little fact and had extremely small, tiny, if you will, weirs when it generated the structure. The next thing you'll be able to do is put in your orifice data. So you have a depth, and if you click in this, it shows you what the depth is. The depth goes to the bottom of the orifice opening, whether it's a round or square orifice. Not round, the diameter then is actually the width and height. But let's say we have 36 inches here, 6 inches here, and an offset of 0 because it's in the center. You then can come down and do a skimmer up to 40 inches deep. Let's say 24. And this gives you the length, overlap, and depth, or thickness, excuse me, the length, overlap, and thickness of the skimmer. And you also are able to do a separate skimmer for front, left, back, or right sides, or all of them. And once you've done all the fill out, instead of having to go in and create these cells manually, you can actually be in a cell library, and that is the big thing. Don't use this in your file. Use it in a cell library, because what it will do is it will create the 2D top-down view of this structure, and it will create the 3D top cell that you'll use to create your new element templates for the 2D and 3D top. Then you'll be able to go in and use those element templates in your feature symbology, and then eventually in your feature definition to actually create a placeable structure. So yeah, as soon as you hit the create cell, it will create the cell you have described here in the interface. This keeps people from having to go in and copy the original cell and then cut holes and channels out for the weirs, and to draw in a outline for the skimmer and extrude it. You don't have to do the 3D modeling part of that. You just use the cell that's generated. Unfortunately, at this time, there is no way that we have been able to access that allows us to create feature symbologies and feature definitions programmatically. Otherwise, we'd be working on a way to use an interface such as this to create the new feature definition for you, so that you could just use the feature definition to place your custom drainage structures when you made them. We don't know if there is any desire for other types of tops or 3D tops for, this kind of automation, but if people would like something like that, that is something that we would love to hear. So that is our new tool, the 3D Drainage Cell Builder. The next new tool that we have up here is a place drainage outfall. This was a request from our drainage department, and I believe the concept behind it is that you would be able to place these at outfall locations so that you can then run the drainage outfall report and get a report on these outfalls. Alright, so this one I'll kind of mess around with and show you a little bit of how it functions. It has this dialog that allows you to put in outfall information. So let's say outfall 01, how original, description. Something interesting. Drainage area A1. I don't know if that's what actually should be going in there or not. I haven't really had anyone go over what all needs to be where on these reports. And I'm going to tell that this is receiving water from off-site, and the alignment that will be used is this one. Now, if that's right, yeah, there he is. And then I'm going to do O2 outfall at ditch area 4, and we'll leave that one as yes. We're going to go over here and do it like right here. Three. MES, and this is going to be from area 8, and we'll put a no here just so we can see the difference in the, and that's usually about right here. And fourth one just for good measure. All right. Place a few of those around, and now we're going to see what happens when you hit the report button. Now that we've got these, if you look at these, this is kind of interesting, or to me. It's got a lot of information here. It's got that it's on the right side. It's got the coordinate system information we typed in, station, latitude. I mean, it has a lot of information there, and we'll see what comes up on our drainage report. Now, to get a report of all these drainage outfalls, we generate a report. Outfall report already exists, replace it. Yes. And there it is. The spectacular new outfall report. Gives you alignment, station, offset. It tells you if it's the left or right of the alignment, and the other information we entered in. This gives you a pretty good idea of the ability of this tool, but never let it be said we don't take suggestions. If you have an idea for a tool like this, or something that this could actually be used for other than just outfalls, please submit those ideas to us so that we can, look at the possibility of integrating them into our software. And then everybody will have access to them, and it'll help all of the people working on these projects out to be able to place things and run reports much easier. As you can see, we are working on adding and filling out this tab. I'd love to see a day where there are things that are helpful to every facet of doing the drainage and utilities process. And as I have said and will say again, we do this for our users, and we develop these things so that it makes your job a little bit easier. So if you do have ideas that might work for, some sort of automation that you can think of, if it's a possibility, we are more than happy to hear the ideas. Doesn't mean that we'll be able to implement them, but the more ideas we have given to us, the more ideas we have in-house, the better the software will become, and the more helpful all of the pieces and parts will be. Thank you, and like I say, contact us if you have ideas. Again, my name is James Worley, and I would personally like to thank you for attending Custom Drainage Resources, New Resources and Tools. I hope you were able to get something out of it, and I truly hope it was helpful. If you have any ideas or suggestions, please give me a call or send me an email. Get in touch with me. My contact information will stay up for a little while, so if you want to take a pic of it and use it later, that'd be fine. Have a great day and enjoy.
All right, there. I hope that everyone who did want to grab or screen capture or snag it, the information there from James, you were able to. But everybody should have his contact information anyway. You know what the DOT address is. I see one question that came through. Unfortunately, I am unable to answer that, Mr. Mercado, but I will pass that along to Mr. James. And if anybody has any questions, now is the time. Go ahead and put it in. I'm going to leave this open just a little bit. But other than that, I want to thank James for the efforts that he put in creating the presentation and recording that. We will be bringing you the next webinar on Thursday, February 27th. And that'll be brought to us once again by the drainage guru himself, Mr. James Worley. And when he continues the theme of the FDOT Connect custom drainage structures there, specifically discussing pond control. And we all know how unruly ponds can be. So don't miss that one. And this would be the time where I turn it over to James. But like I said before, he is not here. Wish him the best. Get well soon. And I don't see any more questions coming in. I'll leave it open for just a few moments, and then I'm just going to close this on out for everybody. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Have a great Thursday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.